Welcome back to the Gridiron Guys YouTube channel, and today we are going to be getting right into our AFC North draft grades. The AFC North overall drafted very well, I thought, and we're going to start off with the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens had one of the best drafts in the NFL, up with the Minnesota Vikings, the only two teams, actually one of three teams, to receive an A+. And Kevin, tell us why we gave the Baltimore Ravens an A+.
Well, it starts by having an all-around great draft class. It starts by being able to get a great linebacker, which is really one of the biggest needs that they had, which was getting Patrick Queen, and one of the many LSU players drafted, kind of a theme between this year's AFC North draft class. And then it continues by them getting J.K. Dobbins, arguably one of the best running backs in this class, Justin Matabuke, great defensive tackle, which is what they needed. Devin Duvernay is a speedster, all-around athlete. He's going to be a great player for them. Malik Harrison's a great linebacker, awesome value in the third round. Tyree Phillips at Mississippi State. I don't know. They have great luck with finding linemen. Same thing with Ben Bredson. Uh, I think it's Benny Washington Jr. out of Texas Tech. It was a solid depth pickup. And then their last two picks arguably were two of the best picks in the later round too. James Prochet out of SMU might have had the best hands in the entire class. He reminds me a lot of Stephon Diggs. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised if he became like an Antonio Brown type. He's that good. He's that much
Some
potential.
high praise right there. I mean,
And he reminds me a lot of Antonio Brown. Also, Geno Stone out of Iowa had a lot of interceptions. I don't know how he fell to the seventh round.
yeah, and not only did Baltimore have a lot of draft picks, I just really like what they did with their first three. I love
Yeah.
Patrick Queen to command a really good defense. I think J.K. Dobbins is going to fit right into an elite rushing attack that he'll get work. Like, you see Mark Ingram, Lamar Jackson, Gus Edwards all getting a bunch of carries. J.K. is going to get in there right into the rotation, do well. Matabuke is going to go into a really talented defensive line, and Duvernay has a chance to be a nice rotational piece to an okay wide receiver core. I just think they really hit it out of the park.
Yeah.
Baltimore continues to do well every single year. That's why they won 14 games last year.
I
It's
think
it's really good.
them just always hitting their drafts out of the park is really key to their success, their longevity too. But the main thing I like with that J.K. Dobbins pick is I know this is gonna sound bad, but they're gonna be up a lot this year in like the third and fourth quarter. You don't want Mark Ingram out there running, so you got J.K. Dobbins, still an elite back, can catch the ball. But all these guys are gonna give them necessary depth, which is the one biggest need I think they had. They didn't have a whole lot of surrounding depth, and now they have that at every position, which makes me think that they might have the most complete roster in the NFL.
That's what happens when you have an elite roster talent and you have 10 draft picks. And these are
Great
high
scouting.
draft picks. What is it? 3/3? It's ridiculous. 4/3. And every single round is a draft pick. They were just able to get high draft capital and add depth to an elite team. That's why they get
I
an A
think
plus, and they hit on
I
their
think their
picks. I think
scouting, their scouting is A1 too. Best
it really,
scouts in the league.
it really is. Baltimore is an elite franchise currently, and their drafts keep them at the top. Moving on though to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is a team that did not have a lot of draft capital this year. They have a really good roster similar to Baltimore, but they don't have that QB. Without a first round pick, there's not much you can do sometimes with flexibility, but we still like what they did in the second and the third round. One of our favorite players in the draft, they picked Alex Highsmith. We are really high on him. I think he has a lot of potential to get in there day one and to improve an already elite defense. And I like Claypool to come in and add some playmaking ability to a pretty meh offense last year. Other than Juju, they didn't really have a playmaker. Hopefully Claypool can come in there at wide receiver or maybe even a mismatch tight end like Evan Ingram and make some plays for them.
Mm, I like Claypool a lot. A lot of people say he's got the potential to turn out to be like a Darren Waller, Evan Ingram, like more athletic tight end. But the Steelers could use him in a lot of different ways, which they can get creative with. I don't really think they needed a wide receiver round two. I think they had other needs that they could have addressed. Definitely on the offensive side of the ball, as their defense is great. But nonetheless, adding Alex Highsmith was really clutch. Um, and then adding Antoine Brooks and Anthony McFarland from Maryland. I think both have some good upside, great value picks. Kevin Dotson out of Louisiana Lafayette is a bigger lineman. I think he's going to fit in right where Ramon Foster used to play. Good depth, very similar play style as Ramon. And Carlos Davis, solid rotational piece of defensive tackle.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I would have liked to see them do here is maybe get a quarterback because they didn't sign Jameis Winston. They don't seem to be willing to pull the trigger on Cam Newton. Ben goes down, season's over, let's be honest here. They can still win with their talented roster, but Super Bowl hopes they're done. And who knows even what Ben has left in the tank. He didn't
Tommy
play at
John
all
surgery is
last
no
year.
joke.
Exactly. He's a great quarterback, but I would have really liked them to take like a Jacob Eason or a Jalen Hurts because they're not guys that are going to be probably franchise quarterbacks, but they're better than Mason Rudolph, and they have potential to give you a chance to win, to have a little spark if Ben goes down for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, because that's pretty typical. I mean, the Steelers think Ben's going to get through the year. They drafted win now players to come and compete. Let's see if that pays off. Time will tell. But a team that has their franchise quarterback is the Cleveland Browns, and they continue to surround Baker Mayfield with one of the most elite rosters in the NFL, getting Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin in the offseasons and have solidified the offensive line. That offense has the best skill positions probably in the league, and their defense has a lot of talent at a bunch of levels, but they really haven't been able to put it together. They drafted 5 of our top 100 prospects. I mean, they did a lot right here, Kevin. What was your
Yeah.
favorite pick for Cleveland?
I think my favorite pick here, the obvious choice is between Wills and Delpit, just to shore up those two positions of need. But I'm gonna go with probably Harrison Bryant, the tight end. I really liked him. He was a Mackey Award winner. Basically, that means he's the best tight end in college football. They got him in the 4th round. And you can see across the board they had a lot of great picks. Wills is a blindside protector at Bama. He could probably go to left. Or Conklin. Between those two, it'll solidify the O-line. Delpit will help in the secondary. Elliott's a very solid defensive tackle. Jacob Phillips provides some linebacker depth. Harrison Bryant is going to get in there a lot because of what Stefanski runs with a multiple tight end scheme. Nick Harris is line depth. He was a really good center, too, and guard at Washington. And Donovan Peoples-Jones in the 6th round. He didn't have a lot of productivity, but
I mean,
he's
that's
a
because he
very...
played with Shea Patterson and the machine moved
Exactly.
pass.
But when he played, the potential was there. He was like the 11th best recruit in the country. He's very talented, very athletically gifted. I think him, Rashard Higgins, Odell, Jarvis Landry, they can all provide a great supporting cast for Baker. It
Probably the
just
best
shows
wide
you
receiver
it's
core
all
in
in
the
Baker.
league. It's
It's
all
all
in
in
Baker.
Baker. This season, they are a team that can go 4-12 or 16-0. They're that good. They have that much potential.
Yeah, they have a loaded roster, but I think as last year, if they don't get those wins early on, they come out and say 1-2, 0-2, 2-3. Like
There's gonna be some change-ups.
it's gonna be a lot of drama in Cleveland. Without a hot start, they're gonna have some issues. I haven't looked at their schedule. Hopefully for them, they have some easy games up front, but they have a tough division. Cincinnati and Baltimore. I mean, Pittsburgh and Baltimore are probably double-digit win teams. They're gonna have some tough games. The AFC's some elite talent. Cleveland's got to get out to a good start, and they should because their roster is elite. They have to put it together. The only concern I have is Wills and Conklin are both right tackles, so we'll
But then
see.
again, there could be argument said that Wills is technically a left tackle, just played right because Tua at Bama.
I know that, but it's still a change of footwork and
It is
all
true.
that.
That is very true. I
It's
think
it's
Conklin played
definitely an
left
adjustment.
in college too, so I think they said they might move Conklin to left.
Yeah, it shouldn't be an issue, but that's something to monitor.
Yeah.
Because it's not an easy adjustment for some guys.
Regardless, though, it'll be an upgrade from what they had last year.
Yeah. Those two guys are more than competent from what they've had in years past. Ever since Joe Thomas was gone, they haven't had a tackle. And
Makes you
lastly,
wonder what if he never retired.
but he wanted to get out of that mess. And lastly, we have the Cincinnati Bengals. they hit the draft out of the park, similar to Baltimore and Minnesota, or two other A-plus teams. They had a T-ball home run on the first pick with
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, and then at 201, they had a lot of options to go. They could have went defense. They probably should have, but I do like the T Higgins selection because they know AJ Green's kind of washed at this point. He's not got much left in the tank. He's injured every year, and without AJ, their wide receiver core leaves a little bit to be desired. Just with John Ross, you don't know what you have in him. Tyler Boyd's a nice number 2, but other than that, you don't know what you have. I like it because AJ Green's not really part of the future, and T Higgins, John Ross, Tyler Boyd, kind of a good combo going down the line to build some rapport with Joe Burrow. I also really, really like Logan Wilson and Akeem Davis-Gaither in the 3rd and 4th round. Those are two really great linebackers who are going to help a defense that lacks a lot of talent. Both have sideline range. They're your middle linebackers or off-ball linebackers for the next 5-10 years if all goes well. I really like what they
Yeah.
did.
I love this draft class. I mean, obviously, like you said, T-ball home run with Joe Burrow as a given. He's going to be a pretty good quarterback in the NFL. You know AJ Green won't be there for too long, so what do? You basically draft a younger version of him in T. Higgins. Uh, Logan Wilson and Akeem Davis-Gaither are both going to be really great if they're used right. They're both very speed-oriented, versatile linebackers who are going to help with Lamar
They're modern day
Jackson.
linebackers.
They are modern day linebackers, and a lot of people are going to two linebacker schemes, which is what that's kind of the new meta in the NFL, and those two can definitely hold it down. I also like Khalid Kareem. It's a solid depth defensive end. Hakeem Adeniji, I think that's how you say his last name. He's a very potential based offensive lineman. He's got great size. He did get penalized a lot, I think, but if he can get work done, he can be really solid. And Marcus Bailey is going to be a solid special teamer too. So every pick I think was a very solid pick. One of the better draft classes.
One of the best, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, just from a pure talent perspective, you can argue Cincinnati was able to acquire the most talent of any team in this draft, and they just had a standard draft class. They didn't have any extra picks. They just stayed where they were, picked the players, and they did a really, really good job of taking the best player available, not worrying about need. I mean, Joe Burrow was an obvious pick, but we had a first-round grade on T. Higgins and second-round grades on both those linebackers. I just really think Cincinnati did what they needed to do to start the rebuild off on the right foot because sometimes it's hard. You don't when your team lacks so many players to compete. You may want to try to get those win now players, but they really picked for the present and the future, and I think Cincinnati is in the right direction because let's not forget they weren't that bad in like the last 5-10 years. They don't win playoff games. It's kind of a
They're just a
joke.
very average franchise.
Yeah, they're not a bottom feeder team. They never have been. They just choke in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think people forget a lot about the talent that they've had, and they're a very offensive minded team with Zach Taylor as their head coach. And I think we could see a very good Bengals offense this year, or a very slept on offense that could be in a lot of shootouts.
Yeah, as long as their offensive line keeps them in it, I like their offense to be really good.
Oh yeah, then they have Jonah Williams too, who's technically a rookie this year.
Yeah, but we don't know anything about him. But there is potential. Like that offense could. Burrow comes in, has a good rookie season, which is definitely likely. They could be top half of the league offense coming from awfulness to last year.
Mm.
I mean, I like the Bengals. I like what they did. I
Yep.
think all these teams in the division, Pittsburgh had limited draft capital, but I think all had really good drafts, and it's going to be a really competitive division as it usually is. You could see 2, maybe even 3 playoff teams come out of the AFC North this year. It's
Who
going to be a fun
knows?
division.
Maybe next year you'll have 4.
Maybe with this expansion looming. And that concludes the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also check us out on Instagram. Gridiron_guys is our handle. And we are posting all these audios to Spotify on podcasts. That concludes the video. Stay tuned for later in this week with more draft grade videos. And Gridiron Guys out.